Hi everyone, it's Natasha from Helping to Reconnect Counseling Services. I know it's been a little while, but we're back. This is my partner Christian.
Hi.
And as you know, I'm, like I said, Natasha. Today we're going to talk about compromise in relationships, which also, of course, involves communication, but we already talked about communication. So today we're going to talk about how to compromise, which is not always easy in a relationship, especially, as I mentioned earlier, when you've kind of lived on your own for a while and been like independent prior to the relationship. So some people get into relationships later in life, like Christian and I. But even when you get into a relationship early on in your life, whether in your teens, in your 20s, in your late 20s, it's still kind of, the issue still arises, right? But it's really learning to be flexible. And I always say to clients that I see is that, people can look at it in different ways, but I always say that, each person in the relationship, whether it be yourself or your partner, has needs. And I think that it is our priority, if we're going to be in a relationship with that person, to try to meet their needs as best as possible. Not that we're going to be completely, sacrificing ourselves or saying, I'll do anything to be with you, but we should try to make the other person kind of happy and figure out what it is that they need. So early on in the relationship with Christian, I noticed things that he needed. So I noticed that he liked a clean home. I noticed that he's very organized and liked things done a certain way. I know that he likes particularly spending time with his friend Tony, maybe a little bit too often. And he's very close with his family. So there's certain things that I notice about him, and some needs from him were a partner that will keep the home tidy. I think needs were somebody that valued his family or that treated his family well. I think that he felt like he wanted somebody that was financially stable on their own. So he valued kind of somebody that was working and independent on their own. I think that I don't know, I'm speaking for you. What else kind of did you want, or what you were looking for in a relationship?
Yeah, I think you hit most of them. Like just someone who's pretty self-sufficient, not someone who needs babysitting, who's pretty strong on their own. And then I guess around the home, yeah, like just keeping the house fairly, livable, clean, and these are things that are, important to some people and not important to others, right? And it's compromise, like you said.
So let me ask you this. I'm going to throw myself under the bus now. Can you kind of name some things or maybe changes that you've seen I have made in order to kind of be with you and make things work better? And maybe some things that you feel maybe I haven't done as well that I could do?
Well, I think the one big change is the contributing to cleaning around the house and stuff. So, obviously at first, when I've never lived with anyone, so for me, I'm used to having things clean, and then all of a sudden it's like a disaster, war zone, like something exploded, and I'm like, what is going on? And obviously, we had discussions, and we had to strike some sort of a compromise, and seeing that change in you is definitely one of those things that is very, very obvious. Just doing your part in keeping things clean, or just picking up after yourself and stuff, and then me too, right? Like just keeping track of certain things, not only just for me but for the household, like for us, so it was an adjustment for me too.
Yeah. Is there any other changes that maybe you've seen I've made, or anything that you'd like me to do?
Even tasks like around the house, so I think for me, I'm not used to having someone to lean on. I'm not used to delegating certain things to other people. I'm not used to having certain things taken off of my shoulders. And so I think when you have meaningful conversations with your partner or the person that you're going to be living with, just communicating what it is that you really need from them helps. Not, you don't do this, rather, I really would like it if you did this, or I would really like it if I had help with this. So even walking the dogs, like things like that. I'd be busy around the house all the time. I don't have time for it. And then out the door you are with the dogs, and I'm like, oh, thank God,
Yeah. I think I communicated with Christian really on in the relationship that he needs to tell me what he needs, that he can't just assume that I'm going to know. And that's another thing that I tell couples, like, because you could be in a relationship with one person and this is what they're looking for, and then somebody else and it's something different. So don't just make the assumption, well, they should know this. No, like, we're not supposed to know this. So Christian, I always say, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, tell me what you need. Like, just be honest, like, say straight up, I need you to do this, I need you to do this. And most of the time, I'd say 90% of the time, I'm willing to do it if I can.
Sure.
And then he's very like task oriented, as you can see. So remember, like, the love languages, his are acts of service. So for him, he likes the acts of service. For me, I'm like a little bit different. So when it comes to needs, and I can tell you that Christian's made a ton of accommodations for me, which I very much like appreciate. For example, when we get into like a disagreement, I'm somebody, he calls me a robot. He's like, you talk completely monotone. He's like, no matter how upset you are or whatever it is, it's like this monotone. And I expect the same thing from him. So when his voice raises, or I call it yelling, he calls it his voice escalating.
I'm just
a little
fiery.
bit.
Okay.
So, and I'm like, it really triggers me when you start to raise your voice. So I end up kind of walking away and saying, I can't handle this. So just take a step back when you're feeling that way, and then we'll discuss it when things are kind of calm. Because for me, once yelling or voice raises, I'm already checked out of the conversation. So now he knows to kind of keep the levels lower so that a conversation can actually occur. Some other changes that he's made, I work quite a bit, and he's so accommodating and makes sure, like, when I come home, I said I need like 10-20 minutes to just kind of de-stress, right? Like, where he at first wanted, like, why don't you come home and you're in a good mood? You're not affectionate.
I don't
You're not
speak
this.
like that.
Okay, whatever. So anyways, I told him, like, I need just like 10-20 minutes to finish what I needed to do, or do whatever it is to kind of like unwind, and then I'm available to you. And he's been super accommodating of that. And I can't tell you, he's the first person that I've ever been with, I can tell you, that's been so accommodating and doesn't just kind of put up, well, I don't do that, or, I'll make this change, or say something and then not actually do it. He's like the first person who's actually listened to my concerns and said, this is what I need, and actually took it and ran with it. And I think it's made our relationship like a lot smoother. So rather than being like, I call it like, we can try to be as understanding as possible. So he can try as much as, like, we can have 20 billion conversations about why I need the volume of arguments to be low, or why I need that 10 minutes, or why I like the dogs walk twice a day, or why I need something. He could try and talk to me and find out why, but I don't even think it's so important as to try to understand why I need that, as to just do it if it makes your partner happy, right? Like, I don't need to understand every dynamic of your relationship with your family, but I need to understand that this makes you happy. So I think I should do my best to kind of accommodate and make the person happy and make the relationship better.
Yeah, it's that decision of, okay, like, does it make me happy? I don't know, maybe not, but does it make my partner happy? I know that it does. So then you make that decision for yourself. Are you willing to put in whatever it is that you need to do in order to make or do that thing that makes your partner happy? And if the answer is yes, then that's the compromise that I think you're talking about, right? So.
And I think showing appreciation. So when your partner does something that you like, even if it's something simple as cleaning something, or taking a dog for a walk, or cooking a meal, something that a lot of people say, well, that's common sense, they should just do it. Show appreciation, because then they're more likely going to do it again. So like, I know when I clean the bathroom, yes, I should clean the bathroom. But when he says, oh, you cleaned the bathroom, I noticed, like, I'll do it again because he noticed. But if he never said anything, I probably just would never do it. So I think the appreciation kind of goes like a long way.
All right.
I don't know if you wanted to add anything.
I think, yeah, I mean, you kind of said what I wanted to say. Like, you get the incentive to want to keep doing it if you see that your actions are actually making a difference to your partner, or that,
Sure.
they're appreciated. Because if you're doing something, especially as mundane as cleaning, and it just goes unnoticed, or your partner just goes in there and just destroys it anyway, and they don't even notice, then it really makes you not want to do it ever again, right? So,
Totally.
yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us, guys, and I hope you have a good evening and a great Canada Day. Take
See you
care.
guys.